What's up, you guys? My name is Aaron Oster. I am a #1 best-selling fantasy author on Amazon and completely unqualified to give you any sort of advice. First off, let me welcome you back to the second ever Fantasy Nerd Explains, where I, a nerd of fantasy, explain different things to you guys. Now, as I mentioned right at the beginning of the video, don't take anything I have to say without doing your own research, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. But today, I am going to tell you why waking up at 5 a.m. is the best decision you can make. How you can be more productive, how you can get twice the amount of work done in half the time, and of course, I'm going to be doing it all through the medium of a character that I made up. So, with that said, smash that like button, subscribe, and let's get right into it. So in this story, we will be following Greg. Greg is a dungeon diver. That means he goes down into caverns, caves, fights through traps and monsters, all for the sake of getting his hands on some sweet loot and as much treasure as he can possibly get. But Greg's got a serious problem, because guess what? He isn't the only dungeon diver around. There are tons of other people looking for fame and fortune. And,
more fortune.
By going down and risking their lives daily, fighting through dungeons. So, Greg has one of two options. He can either A, continue going down and dungeon diving at the same time every day while competing with other people, or B, get up a couple of hours earlier and head into that dungeon before anyone else wakes up. Now, we're obviously going to have pros and cons of both. So, let's first look up at the pros of going in when everyone else does. So, here it is. First of all, when he goes in with a whole bunch of other people, it'll be less dangerous, because a whole bunch of other people there around. If a random mob comes in, a random monster comes in to attack him, he knows that there's always going to be backup. Now, the cons, obviously, are that there's less treasure to go around because more people are down there, which means less treasure. Or he can get up earlier. Now, the problem with getting up earlier is that, first of all, who wants to wake up early? I mean, no one in their right mind, obviously, which is exactly why I'm doing it. But the downside of waking up early is that when he goes in, yes, there will be a lot less people, but the problem is that since there are less people, the actual run through the dungeon is going to be a lot more risky. He's going to be on his own, so when he fights monsters, he can't count on any backup from anyone. Greg is a bit of a loner, so he's not going to have a dedicated dungeon party to go along with him. Well, he's not just a loner, he's also very selfish and doesn't like sharing his treasure. And because of that, he's going to have to go in it alone. Now, the plus side, obviously, is that if he goes in by himself, ahead of everyone else, then all of that newly spawned loot is going to be his for the taking if he can just make his way through. Now, Greg, being the smart person he is, decides to get up early and run through that dungeon on his own. But when he finally makes it through to the other side, after battling through monsters, bosses, and avoiding traps and coming out in mostly one piece, Greg finds that it took him 30 minutes less to run through that dungeon than it normally did. So, if a normal dungeon run only takes him 2 hours, why is he doing this one in an hour and a half? Greg does an experiment over the next few days to try and figure out why that is. After all, how is it possible to get more work done in the same amount of time? After several weeks of waking up early consistently and checking to see what was happening and how things were different, Greg discovered a few very important things. First of all, when he woke up before everyone else,
nobody else was up yet.
So he obviously didn't have to check his Dungeongram account to make sure and see if anyone posted a picture of their new bright red horse on there, or to see if his buddy Bob went on vacation somewhere, or to see how great Keith's life was, because he's got a wife and, sadly,
he's all alone.
Also, since no one's up, Greg doesn't bother checking his D&D account to check if anyone swiped right on his profile, if you know what I mean.
Wink, wink.
Get it? D&D. Okay, amateurish jokes aside, the reason that Greg is able to accomplish so much more is that there's less distraction for him when he wakes up at the crack of dawn, waking up those roosters instead of the other way around. Now, if Greg was smart, he would take all that extra money and invest it like Keith the Dragonslayer in a Roth IRA at a 7% interest rate. In 35 years, he'd be a millionaire. But that's beside the point. The point that I am trying to make is that by getting up early, you can get a lot more done because A, there is less distraction, there are less people around, it's easier to focus when you've got nobody else around too because the less distracting thing, obviously. And for the third reason, studies have shown that people get most of their work done earlier in the morning. That means as the day goes on, you start accomplishing less and less. Now, I am speaking from personal experience. I get up every single morning before the rooster, kick him in the gut for being such an obnoxious turd, and then I go and start working. And if you guys can manage to do that for yourselves, you're going to find that you have a much easier time getting a lot more done in a lot less time. And yes, I do realize that there are a lot of you that probably get up even earlier than that to either commute to work or because you really don't have a choice. Or there's no point because you have a day job and what work can you already do? This advice is just for the people that have to get up early because if you commute to work, there isn't really much you can do except for maybe listen to an audiobook or a podcast or anything like that and try and pick up something new. But for the people that actually have day jobs that don't require a long commute, you could use that extra time in the morning to either exercise, work on your side hustle, make a little extra money, and try and build something up so in the future you don't have to get up for that horrible 9-to-5 with that boss who will never leave you alone.
You know what I'm talking about.
So with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, hit that like button because it really helps. Comment down below with your thoughts on what is the best time to get up in the morning? Because like I said, this is just my opinion, something that I've been doing for a while. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Go buy my books. Check down in the comments for the links to open up your own investment accounts. And just like Keith the Dragonslayer, you too can be a millionaire. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.